Folks, hope you're doing very well. Been a very, very interesting day, hasn't it? Sorry I haven't produced anything for this channel in a week now. I do have scripted videos that I'm working on. I've just been really busy and I've been making a lot for my CAD Daily channel. So I've just found myself with not enough time, not enough hours in the day to do the things I actually want to do. But hello, chat. I hope you're doing very, very well. I'm a few minutes early, so we won't get started yet, but if you're watching this after it's been live, go forward about 5 minutes or so, I guess. Yes, Russian, it is Pericles, one of my favorites. I absolutely adore the classical period of Greece. The Peloponnesian War is just such a fascinating thing. I was talking about it quite a lot with some friends today, actually, because I was invited on a podcast that'll be out in the summer, probably. But we didn't get to talk about the Peloponnesian War on the podcast, which is a shame, because it genuinely is a fascinating thing. I might do a long-form thing on it at some point, just because there are... Everyone idolizes the Spartans, but it's not the Spartans who are the stars of the Peloponnesian War. It's the Athenians. The Athenians are the stars. They're box office, actually, and people don't seem to give them the credit they deserve, which is a real shame, because the Athenians are so much fun. The Spartans are really boring because they're ultra conservative, and not in a good way, like in a gay race communist way. they were gay race communists, and honestly, they just they didn't want to do anything really. Whereas the Athenians wanted to do everything all the time, everywhere, all at once, and that made them thrilling. Kiefer, what about the pondering? Yeah, sorry, I just haven't had time to play video games. Unfortunately, I can't tell you everything I'm doing at the moment, but it's a lot, and I wish I had time. Believe me, I would love to spend my evenings just streaming on the pondering and playing Mech Warrior or something like that. Dark and Darker is something I've been playing recently, which has been quite good. It's basically just a first-person Dungeons and Dragons game, where you just run through dungeons, killing monsters, collecting loot. So yeah, it's it's like, I've had a bit of a blast on that, but I haven't had, like I said, I haven't had enough time to do anything. So I'm you'll see when it's all done. Anyway, so Yoruza says, while I love that you're active on your channel, I was just watching a video by V. Well, I love that he's active on his channel. It's crazy how you've been 10 years or so since I watched you. Well, I'm glad you're still here. It's been a long, strange journey, hasn't it? And what we're going to talk about, in fact, is the long, strange journey today. So, like I said, we'll get to that in about 3 minutes now. Eyes the Watch says, can you do more dadism content? I can, but I'm in the middle of something. So when I've done those things, I absolutely will. I'll probably write a book or something at some point. But I can't do it yet, but I will. New Dawn says, watching you for 11 years. Now I'm married, 23 male. That's great. Honestly, I'm so glad to hear it. I love hearing the wholesome stories, man. This is why, like, Tom Skinner is one of my favorite people on social media at the moment. It's just non-stop daddist content. It's 100% dadism. And he's such, like, it's so frustrating that the mainstream are constantly like, oh, we need a good role model for men. It's like, hello? Have you seen this guy? Like, he is the best role model for men. Like, he is absolutely winning at life because he gets up, he works hard, he goes home, he eats well, he loves his kids, and he enjoys his life. And it's just, like, this guy is the very model of what the average man can aim for. Like, the average guy can do what he's doing and, you know, make his money because he runs businesses or whatever, in addition to his social media. And it's just, you can do this. You can just do things, and if you just work hard, things work out for you. You do make money. You do get ahead. It's just more difficult. And honestly, being an entrepreneur is a satisfying life, even if it is risky. And by God, do I know that it's risky. But in a very sort of practical, down-to-earth way, someone like Tom Skinner is the model of manhood that I personally would recommend. If, you know, obviously, if not myself. But, I mean, I'm not perfect, you know. I make my mistakes. I snap sometimes, and sometimes I regret, you know, being too hard on my sons or something like that, or not giving my wife enough attention or something like that. You know, I'm not perfect. I do my best. You know, that's all you can do, right? And a lot of people do their best, and Tom Skinner is a really good example of this. Are you familiar with aristocratic utensil? Monarchist Spoon has some good videos explaining the downfall of Dev. Short fat otaku. I still like Dev, even if he's not really my friend now, and I don't want to speak ill of people who were my friends. But I have heard of him, and I'm sure his videos are good. I don't get to watch any content, by the way, anymore. This is another thing: is I don't get to play video games, and I don't get to watch YouTube videos, so I have no idea what the meta is at the moment. John says, "Hey Carl, opened up to my girl about my insecurities, or one of them, and a month later she used that against me. I used to think it was mean, but now I'm pessimistic when it comes to dating. Any advice?" Yeah, you can't do that. You can't cry in front of your woman, and you honestly, that's what your bros are for. That's what your male friends are for, right? You have to genuinely seem like a rock that she can rely on. This is unfortunately the burden that men have to bear. And if you want to get the best in life, you have to live up to this role. I'm sorry to hear it, but unfortunately, and again, it's not every woman. And I'm sure there are many women out there who don't respond like this, right? But you don't know until you do it. And so you've got to just take your chances, or learn to be the archetype of a man that you probably ought to become anyway, because it is ennobling. And again, that's what your brothers are for, that's what your friends are for, that's what your dad is for, right? That's not what your wife is for. New Dawn says, I didn't have a dad and you told me to be better. Well, I'm glad that you listened, because being better is just all you can do in life, frankly. It's all you have available to you, because the only alternative is tragedy. Absolute tragedy. Your own life wasted. You only get one, as far as I'm concerned. So don't waste it. Just crack on. Make of the world what you want to make of it. Right. So, So let's talk about politics, because, like pretty much all of us here, right? We've had politics forced upon us. I had no interest in politics. 12 years ago, whenever it was, I started this channel, started uploading videos to it. I was just not interested. It just didn't bother me, because I was busy living my life. And, I was playing video games, making a video game. I was hanging out with my friends. I was listening to history videos, and I was reading history books, because that was what interested me. And I remember reading Thucydides' History of the Peloponnesian War, and I'm pretty sure this quote comes from the funeral oration from Pericles in, I think it's like 420 BC or something. I can't remember the exact date. But basically, the war is going badly for Athens, because for a lot of it does go badly for Athens. And Pericles has to give his funeral oration, where he lionizes the dead and fortifies the spirit of the Athenians to continue the struggle. And at one point he says, look, just because you don't take an interest in politics doesn't mean politics won't take an interest in you. And it does. Politics is the management of power. It is all things in a society are essentially, if not expressly political, in some way touched by politics. And this is one of those things that the left is actually correct about. I think it was originally actually Machiavelli who said something like this. But this is one of those things that the left is correct about, and we need to talk about, right? So I'll get some of the super chats in a bit. I just want to get the initial part of this out of the way at the least. And so it's remarkable that I found this on The Atlantic the other day. All we wanted to do is play video games. Yeah. And that could be written about any of us, right? That could be written about any of us. Here, now, everything that we have contributed to make this community what it is, it could be written about any of us. But this one was written about Asmongold, because Asmongold is very successful, and they're not happy with that, because Asmongold, in addition to being very successful, is not an insane man. Now, I just want to be clear, I've never spoken properly to Asmongold. He moderated a debate between me and Hassan Piker in Destiny once, but he didn't say or do anything. He was, he was just overseeing it. But he seems like a very nice fellow. I've seen a bunch. I don't get time to watch his streams, because I don't get time to watch anyone. But I've seen a bunch of his clips going around, and he seems to be a man who has reasonable takes. Just very, very reasonable takes. In fact, I haven't really seen anything that he said that I particularly disagree with, frankly. I'm sure there are bound to be some things, but like, overall, he just seems to be a fairly normal fellow. As I understand it, he was a World of Warcraft player, pro player or some sort. I never played World of Warcraft, so I don't know how that works. But look at the tagline here. What are they really saying? He has more influence than ever. What are they really saying? So, right. So this is part of the left's long-running insecurity when it comes to culture. They've realized that actually, I mean, Hassan Piker has a lot of followers, but he speaks to a very closed audience. Not people who aren't already doctrinaire leftists don't watch Hassan Piker, and they're not interested in Hassan Piker. And he does no kind of outreach. He doesn't try to persuade. He's actually a really unpleasant person if you see any of his streams. And he seems to be he seems to hate his life. He genuinely seems to hate the people he's around. He genuinely seems to hate his own audience. He genuinely seems to hate his own job. And I just want to be clear, right? Being a content creator is not a stress-free life by any means, as you can see by my more white than my dad's beard. There is a lot of stress that it involves, and also it is a lot of work. I know it doesn't sound like work, 'cause it's not physical labor, but it can be draining. And if I was Hassan Piker doing like 8-hour-long streams all day every day to an audience I hated, doing a job I hated, covering news I hated with people I hated, I'd probably be burnt out as well. But of course, where can Hassan go? What can he do? He can't go anywhere and do anything else, really. And so this is what he is. And this is his only path to success and relevance. And so he's got no choice. I'm actually really lucky. I mean, it's tiring to do this a lot, but I really love what I do, and I love the people I spend my time with. And I'm very lucky to have them around, and I'm very lucky to have you guys watching. So I think that really all of it comes down to reciprocity. You get what you give if you are someone who nurtures a huge amount of resentment and you're kind of hateful and you're living what is fundamentally a hypocritical life, then you have to deal with that. And that even as someone with such a black heart as Hassan Piker has to admit that it chews up his soul. And it's like, okay, well, I'm glad that's not me. Frankly, I'm glad that's not me. I'm glad I'm won out through hard work, not through hatred. And I'm so glad about that. And honestly, I thank you, chat, by the way. I can see all the comments. Yeah, no, it is like you, KO, commenting chat. He's great. You're all great, and I really appreciate it. I did hear that Hassan went to a P. Diddy party, which I've never been to a P. Diddy party, just FYI. But yeah, no, Asmongold's not a loser. I don't know why anyone would say that. Asmongold seems like a decent fellow. And they spend a lot of time in this complaining, going on about Trump, obviously, because Asmongold doesn't hate Trump. Now, as I understand it, I think Asmongold is basically all right with most of what Trump does, because most of what Trump does is essentially common sense, right? It's essentially like, yeah, we should close the border. We should deport illegal immigrants. We should make sure that people aren't financially and economically taking advantage of America. We should make sure that our allies pay their fair share of NATO expenses and things like this, right? Actually, just totally common sense things. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Trump's made a bunch of mistakes that I've talked about on the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, so go watch that if you want to see where I think Trump has made mistakes. But that doesn't stop me from being a Trump supporter. I am a Trump supporter. You know, I realized in 2017 I love the MAGA movement and I support it, even if it makes mistakes, even if it does things I don't think are the correct thing to do. That doesn't mean that you just go, well, that's it. I'm not part. I don't want to support this anymore. No, I will. But anyway, so they begin really here. Asmongold, whose real name is Zach Hoyt. I love this. We've got a dead name, people. Why can't he just be Asmongold? I don't need to know Asmongold's real name. Stephen Yaxley Lennon. What? But don't you dare dead name the transgender person. Come on now. He's a prominent member of a class of influencers that has been helping to remake the American electorate. Now that is a very, very big claim. I mean, Asmongold has millions of viewers, millions of them. I mean, we have millions of viewers, just not on each individual video. But Asmongold has millions and millions of viewers, and he definitely is influential in a more abstract way. He's not as influential as like a direct politician or something, but they're really worried that actually it's the attitude, the cultural attitude towards leftism that Asmongold is affecting. And maybe they're right to think this, actually. Maybe it's not wrong that they think this. They carry on. With an average of more than 2.2 million people tuning into Twitch at any given moment, and clips of top streamers regularly going mega viral on the wider internet, the platform is, as Nathan Grayson... Chat. Nathan Grayson. What? Am I misremembering? Or is Nathan Grayson one of the guys who had an affair with literally who? Am I wrong about that? I don't think I'm wrong about that, am I? And I guess the response that I'm getting from the chat, I'm not wrong about that, am I? That name rings a bell, right? How is it the long shadow of Gamergate? Yeah, one of the five. Yes, I knew it. I knew he was. The long shadow of Gamergate casts itself over the internet forever. Everything will always be Gamergate to these people. And maybe they're not wrong. Maybe they're not wrong to worry about this. Yep, I am 100%. Thank you so much. Anyway, so as journalist, just a regular journalist now, Nathan Grayson, with all of the baggage that comes with, Nathan Grayson points out that in the new book Stream Big, comparable in reach to mainstream television networks like CNN and Fox during primetime slots and major events. Not just comparable, like I think Tucker Carlson was the biggest primetime media personality, and he got something like 3.6 million, and then Fox dropped off. CNN was getting something like 500,000. I remember Dan Carlin talking about this, going, "Look, your numbers are terrible." I'm pretty sure it was something like 450,000, something like that. Really, really bad, right? And that's without counting other streaming venues. During last year's campaign, the Trump camp courted streamer Aidan Ross in order to reach a young, largely male constituency that ended up helping decide the election. Well, I mean, we don't know that exactly. It's hard to say what thing did something, because actually the direct causal proof is very difficult to actually get, especially before the election. But anyway, Trump's second administration has made it even clearer how the culture of gaming, a pastime enjoyed weekly by 61% of adults, aged 36 on average, is bleeding into American politics. The avowed Diablo 4 player Elon Musk explains Doge's activities with gaming terms such as speedrunning and, well, there's no others. Yeah. So, good. I mean, that's something that everyone understands who plays video games. Musk recently beefed with Hassan Piker, a popular leftist Twitch streamer who's been enlisted by Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to help rally opposition to Trump. Oh, I'm sure they're going to do brilliantly. I'm sure everyone's just like, what? Hassan Piker said that? Oh, I agree completely. What was that about America deserving 9/11? Hassan Piker, he really speaks to the common man in America. Like, what? You are carving off huge segments of the electorate with a Hassan Piker endorsement. Just saying. When someone like Hassan Piker, and again, people are very well aware of what he has said in the past. When he starts becoming your top guy, well, everyone's on the phone to... everyone's on the phone to Sam Hyde. Anyway. He's also publicly feuded with Asmongold after Asmongold criticised Elon Musk for exaggerating his own gaming accomplishments. Kind of like the 2020s equivalent of a politician fudging their golf handicap. Yes. And so, I mean, to be honest with you, that's petty and I don't care. But Elon probably shouldn't have done it. It didn't matter. It's fine not to be the world's greatest gamer if you're also the richest man in the world and you're trying to save the United States and also get into space at the same time. But I tell you what, just one quick side. I noticed that Ethan Klein and Hassan Piker had a debate today, and I've seen clips going around from it. I haven't watched it, and I would love to have time to watch it. But each one of these clips is Ethan absolutely ruining Hassan, which, I mean, that's great. And the other day he did a debate with Sam Cedar, and all the clips I saw were just Ethan absolutely ruining Sam Cedar. And that is just funny. Like, get him, Ethan. Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is, he's really shaped up, which is really good to see. And it's interesting how, like, Ethan himself is the dad, and Hassan Piker is himself the degenerate. So just, again, interesting how these things work out, isn't it? Anyway, so this chap has been dipping in and out of Asmongold's channel for the past month to understand what it means for politics to be processed through the lens of video games. This is important to him, of course, blah, blah, blah. And he says, gaming seems to intensify the effects of the three media types that he's talking about, and adding something else, cynicism. Well, maybe in the case of Asmongold, but it's depending on the personality of the streamer, right? And the personality of the person you're talking to. Like, I'm actually not an excessively cynical person. I'm actually a very sincere person. I think sincerity is the most... I mean, I realize I'm not in the same league as Asmongold, obviously. But Asmongold is just one of many people. And I see more people who I think are sincere than cynical. And I'm not saying it's wrong to be cynical. And to be non-committal and wry. But I think that actually the thing we need to think about is sincerity. I think a lot of Donald Trump's support was built on a genuine, sincere love of the United States. And honestly, it was that brought me around. That it was just very clearly that was the driving factor to bind the American people to him in such large numbers. And good for them. Good for him. Good for all of it. Because I better him than the alternative by just such a long way. Like, I actually think Trump wants to help America. Whereas clearly the other side is either in it just for power or active malevolence and malice against America. So why would you ever consider voting for the left? Like, Hassan Piker hates America. Like, they're like, oh yeah, we've got Hassan Piker, a popular leftist Twitch streamer, supporting Bernie Sanders and AOC. Yeah, but he hates America. He literally wants to see America destroyed. He literally thinks you deserve terrorism against you. He literally has anti-American terrorists on his Twitch stream to fluff them for an hour. Like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, Asmongold's cynical. It's like, well, it's better than being hateful and hostile, isn't it? Like, I'd rather a man who's generally well-meaning but maybe a bit cynical about things than someone who's like, yeah, America deserved 9/11, and I double down on that fact. That's mad. Like, it's crazy, the framing on this. And they're wondering why they're losing. They're wondering why, especially in America, the Americans are like, no, we've had enough of this. We're voting for Trump. You get giant orange man for another 4 years, and we don't care how you feel about this. You know? Anyway, Asmongold's hair is scraggly and brown. His build is stringy. His eyebrows are given to vigorous wiggling. But that's the good parts about it. I like the eyebrows. He likes to brag about not showering for months. He definitely could improve his personal hygiene. Most of his streams start with him taking questions from viewers who provide a continuous river of comments in his Twitch chat room. Yeah, they want to chat to him. And so he goes on, blah, 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 blah. Right. So before I started tuning to Twitch, keeping on the background, I wondered whether its practitioners were just updated versions of old media archetypes, such as the talk radio host, the football commentator, and news anchor. They're not. They're just people, because the barrier to entry is so low, anyone can do it. And the fact that the people who you come to learn about, like Asmongold, have audiences is because there's something just appealing about them. He says, Asmongold is less energetic and polished than those kinds of professionals. The feeling one gets is not of watching him, but watching with him. And that is a lot of Asmongold's channel. You're kind of hanging out with a buddy, and he says, it felt like a pang of nostalgia for middle school hangouts with friends. Yeah, it does. And that's not bad. Like, I'm more like the commentator that you're thinking of than Asmongold. Asmongold's a lot more, and I'm not trying to be condescending or anything, he's just a lot more casual when it comes to these things, right? And that's fine. You know, horses for courses. Everyone's got their place. And that, honestly, that probably opens you up to a much wider audience generally, right? That's totally fine. And I think it's fine to have the pang of nostalgia for these kind of hangouts with friends. Why wouldn't you want that? Like, if I was sat around all day, I could see myself tuning into Asmongold. You know, if I was playing video games or just working in an office where I didn't have to constantly talk or something, well, I'd definitely put it on. Why wouldn't you? Like, he just seems like a fairly chill guy. And that's, you know, what people watch these things for. You murmur nonsense back and forth knowingly in a knowingly Neanderthal manner. It's bracketed in irony, based less than thinking and reacting. He's playing the role of a buddy on the couch. Yeah. And given the way that essentially social relations are breaking down, it'd be nice to have a buddy on the couch, wouldn't it? That said, he's a buddy with a lot of opinions. Oh, how dare he? He was banned from Twitch temporarily for saying that Palestinians were part of an inferior culture whose destruction he doesn't mourn, which he apologized for. And to be fair, that was crass. You know, you don't... Even if you think that, that doesn't mean they should be destroyed. And he did apologize, as you say, so that's fine. But he is entitled to his opinions. Earlier this month, he attracted controversy saying that transgender kids only exist because of adults' mental illnesses, and he doubled down on that one. Well, what's interesting is that Hassan Piker, again, if this is the comparison, and this is the person that the left is going to hold him and say, look, this is our streamer. He called for the murder of senators the other day on Twitch, and he was banned for 1 day. 1 day they banned him for. That is wild, isn't it? Like, if I was calling for the death of people, I'd expect permanent bannings. I mean, you know, I guess I don't live in the privileged bubble that Hassan Piker lives in. But his style is far from the stridency of provocateurs such as Candace Owen. Instead, he's detached or wryly amused. He comes off like a burned-out tutor, hired to translate current events into gamer speak for distracted teens. For example, he said Trump's tariffs were fixing the loot council, equating global capital or gold or treasures earned in World of Warcraft raid. Never played World of Warcraft, so I don't know how that works, but okay. Indeed, Asmongold's foray into political commentary often seems to have been undertaken half-heartedly. Well, that's probably because Asmongold doesn't seem to have wanted to become political. As the title of this stated, we just wanted to play video games. Now, I'm just glad that there are people with large audiences talking about things from a reasonable perspective that isn't insane leftism. Not everyone, like, I am a full-on crusader with this stuff, right? I mean, thanks to all you guys' help, by the way. Just FYI, I'm a full-on crusader these days. I have Lotus Eaters, a very, now doing very well, by the way, media organization. I have lots of connections with lots of important people, and I am trying actively to work on something that will help us win the culture war. Asmongold is just someone who, for whom politics is an invasive force. He is the person that Pericles is talking about. He is the person he wasn't looking for this, and it came looking for him. And you can see here, the gaming world's rightward drift can be traced back to the Gamergate controversy a decade ago, when a vocal slice of gamers organized an angry backlash to games designers and journalists who had been trying to make the art form more diverse and inclusive. Okay, there we go, right? This is the interesting and decisive bit. We went right-wing when you tried to drag us left-wing. You tried to impose upon us diversity and inclusion, woke intersectional leftism. And it's not like you did this in a kind way. It's not like you did this in a suggestive way. You were like, look, guys, we like video games too, and we would really appreciate if you wouldn't mind us having this, actually. And if you'd been humble and polite, I mean, why would anyone have taken objection, right? Even if it wasn't something I was particularly interested in, I'd be like, well, yeah, why shouldn't you be able to have that? You know, it's really not the end of the world. If there wasn't such an obviously malevolent agenda, and I think the best example of the malevolent agenda was Leigh Alexander's Gamers Are Over article in Gama Sutra. And this is a blast from the past from 2014. But look at how aggressive this is. Gamers don't have to be your audience. Gamers are over. Oh, well, I'm just getting the memo, actually. And she says, you know, I don't like gamers. Games culture is a petri dish of people who know so little about how human social interaction and professional life works, they can concoct online wars about social justice or game journalism ethics, straight-faced, and cause genuine human consequences because of video games. Well, yeah, you thought that video games were important enough to make more diverse and inclusive, and you're complaining that gaming is now going right-wing because of your efforts to make it left-wing. So if this wasn't important, why were you doing it? And of course, she then goes on to then attack the people who are disagreeing with him. You don't want to be divisive? Who's being divided? Except for people who are okay with an infantilized cultural desert of shitty behavior and people who aren't. What is there to debate? Well, not much left now, is there? We agree that you are part of an infantilized cultural desert of shitty behavior, and we're not going to debate that with you. We don't like you, and we're not interested in having you interfere with our hobbies, and this is what's turning us right-wing. It was you making us... It kind of like Schrodinger's political position, right? Like, I didn't know what I felt about loads of different things. What my reasons for thinking this or that on any issue for ages was, because I just didn't think about them. And you came along and forced us to think about it. And so a lot of us did. I mean, when I was on Tim Pool a couple of months ago, and he's just recently become a dad as well. And I tell you what, when you become a dad, you do start reassessing the world in completely different ways. And you start thinking, well, hang on a second. It's not just enough to be free. You have to be thinking about how a moral order is set for the future after you're gone, while you're here and after you're gone. So what kind of moral order do I want? And do I want a moral order where these people are in charge? And the answer is no, I don't actually. I think that they are actually immoral people. I think that they are hostile and... trying to think of a nice way of putting it, perverse. And I think that they would despoil the innocence of my children, and they would take away from them their future. And I think they revel in the idea of doing that. And so, yeah, I went right-wing as well as basically everyone else. Because why is that good? I actually care about people who aren't me. I care about things that aren't just my own personal consumption, the direct satisfaction of my most base passions. I actually care about things that, like nobility, justice, honor, decency, gallantry, heroism. I care about all of these things. I think they're real. I think they're important. I think they're a core part of the human condition. And I think that if you don't understand these things, you can't be a man. So why wouldn't I go right wing if the left wing is the opposite of this? And this was not an isolated incident. Again, 11 years ago. This is a blast from the past from Kotaku in Action. The Gamers Are Dead articles. So the Gama Sutra one was the first, at 10 a.m., right? And then look at this cascade, right? This widespread attack. Oh, it's another, just reinforcing 1:21, 5 p.m., 7:57, 8 p.m., 8:29 p.m., 9:33 p.m., all on the same day, right? All on the same day. And then on some of them from the next day, blah, blah, blah. And so this went on for a week, 2 weeks almost, actually. But dozens of them, dozens of these articles, all just saying, no, we hate gamers, and they can disappear as far as we're concerned. Because we are insane leftists who want to destroy everything. We hate white people, we hate men, we hate straight people, we hate our nations, and we love everything that is marginal, fringe, foreign, and damaging to the current state of affairs. Because we're communists and we want a revolution. That's basically what this all boils down to. A Gramscian attack on the society itself to weaken it sufficiently so the state can be overthrown. That's what this is all about. And they know it. That's why they're communists. That's why they hate you for being right-wing. That's why they are making this video about, writing this article about Asmongold to start with. That's all of this. And trust me, I have a degree in philosophy now because I had to go and get it to figure out what the hell was going on. And it has been a long ideological lineage from Antoine de Tracy through Karl Marx, through Lenin, through Gramsci, through Lukács, through Althusser, and through to various other communist, Marxist ideologues who are like, right, how can we overthrow the West? Through to the critical theorists, you know, Adorno, Horkheimer, Marcuse, and various others who are just like, we have to undermine everything about the society, everything, to things you don't think about, to areas of life that seem so natural that they are eternal, but can't have been eternal because they're, of course, a product of society. So even these things, like the schools, the churches, everything, the nature of the things that are the television programs on the TV, or the movies that you watch, or the video games that you play, Everything has to be attacked. And that's where we end up with this postmodern leftism that is attacking every single facet of civilization, even down to the video games you play are a weapon in this war. And the thing is, I had to read just so many books. I had to sit there and ponder so much BS left-wing ideology. And I had to understand how they came from one conclusion to another, and how this, over the past 200 years plus, has manifested and metastasized into one half of our political discourse. One half of our political discourse is literally, we need to overthrow our own civilization, hand it over to foreigners, debauch children, and ruin everything, or else we don't reach equality. And I have to say, as the patriarch of a family, I don't want equality, and I want to stop you at every turn. I want to undo everything that you have done, and we are going to undo everything that you have done. We are going to fix this. The dads are going to take control of our civilizations sooner rather than later, by the way, and we are going to fix all of this. And you see it now. So many people, so many dads who are just like, oh yeah, no, I'm waking up to this. Like, you know, Gen Xers, older millennials, they're just like, I wasn't paying attention. And I have this conversation with so many dads. I wasn't paying attention. I thought everything was going fine. No, everything is not going fine. We know where we're doing. We know where we are now. We know what we're doing. And we're not having this for our children. We are not having this for our children. And they're on the back foot. I mean, Trump is an active response to this. Nigel Farage, today, criticisms aside, I am still glad that he has won, given the range of alternatives, given the range of options, destroying the woke uniparty. And, I mean, I don't think Farage will succeed in the way that he needs to, but he's at least doing a good job by clearing out the detritus and making room for new things to come to life and giving them breathing room, clearing out the forest so that new shoots can spring up off the forest floor. So like I said, even if Farage doesn't do anything very useful, that in itself is useful enough. Anyway, he said, all we wanted to do is play video games. Asmongold said in a recent stream, man after my own heart. I mean, you know, I really wasn't a very complex man. I didn't want anything in particular. And here we are. All they then had to do is put girls in video games. Now we have to elect Donald Trump to stop that. And then they had to put girls in our video games. Yeah. And so now we have to elect Donald Trump to stop that. That's what it comes down to. We have, like, this is why and you guys know me, you know how much pro Donald Trump content I put out. I was doing absolutely everything within my power to get Donald Trump elected. As much influence as I might have, I was going forth as strongly and as stridently as I could. And man, was I pleased when Trump won that second term. I was just, you get what you fucking deserve. And that's right, though. Yeah, why shouldn't we? Why should we not exercise a will to power? Why should we not determine the values for ourselves that we'd like to see in the future? Why should we accept evil termite leftists who want to just tear down everything that our ancestors built? Why would we want that? We don't want that. We're not communists. We don't want equality. We want success, vibrancy, merit. We want decency. We want goodness. We want to build a future worth living in. And so, yeah, now we have to elect Donald Trump to stop that. Yes, that's completely correct. And we will do what we can elsewhere to elect what we need to elect to get that stopped everywhere else. Anyway, the criticism here is, he was speaking in a sarcastic deadpan, but he was suggesting a truth about a particular brand of conservatism that has taken hold in numerous men lately. In many cases, is not driven by a committed belief system, but by a tribal vendetta against, to use one of his favourite terms, the retards of the identity-focused left. Well, you retards just left us alone, but you couldn't, because you knew that if you just left us alone, the culture would have broadly continued in what is, I guess we'll just call for the sake of argument, the general right-wing condition that it's in. The revolution wouldn't come if you left us alone. And so what you've done is you've pissed off many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of young men, told them they're bad, told them that they're bad for liking the things they like. You've told them that they're bad for being men and for thinking that men have a position of honor and dignity in society that they're entitled to as breadwinners, fathers, homemakers, protectors, and you've tried to take that away from them. Well, you didn't have a constructive alternative, did you? What you had was hatred. And so they realize, oh, those people hate me. And they're destroying everything. And they're stealing my future. I actually don't have to stand for that. I actually am allowed, and in fact, duty-bound to do something about it. And therefore, we elect Donald Trump to stop that. And he's doing a great job. He's not been perfect, but he's doing a great job. Exactly. Stand men of the West. Now is the time. There's never going to be a better time than now. The longer we leave it, the harder it gets. The reason this has been as difficult as it's been recently is because we've left it so long. Our forefathers should have stood up, but I don't blame them. It's hard to have seen what was coming. They didn't have the luxury of the internet, so I could find any information that I needed firsthand. I could just look it up, and it's even easier now with ChatGPT. Go on ChatGPT and just ask them for a genealogy of Marxist ideology. Just find out and get it to give you a summary of each thing. And actually, I bet I could do it right now. Right? Hang on. So I don't use ChatGPT for any sort of research or anything like that. But give me a genealogy. I'm probably spelling that wrong. Ideology and a summary of their beliefs. Classical Marxism, beginning with Marx and Engels, correct. Orthodox Marxism, interesting. Marxism-Leninism, yep. Stalinism, Trotskyism, Western Marxism, Maoism, and, okay, interesting, yeah, good core summary of the beliefs. Historical materialism, class struggle, labor theory, value, alienation, revolution, dictation, yeah. Now give me a summary of how Marxist postmodernists came out of that tradition. Crisis of classical Marxism. Disillusionment with Soviet-style socialism. Correct. Well done, ChatGPT. Western intellectuals beginning to question economic determinism. Interesting. The influence of structuralism and post-structuralism. So you've got Foucault, Derrida. I've not actually heard of Lyotard. But yes, correct. Right, key figures. And then you've got just a list, so you can go into them. And, better ask about the Frankfurt School. Well, I've spelled incorrectly. But it's a critical bridge between classical Marxism and postmodern Marxism. Good point, ChatGPT. Absolutely good point. Absolutely. And Habermas is an interesting read, by the way. Don't worry about that, though. Right, so, and then you're like, okay, what are these schools of thought trying to accomplish? Summarize in one paragraph. So, classical Marxism focused on overthrowing capitalist economic structures through class revolution, while Western Marxists like the Frankfurt School expanded the critique to include mass culture, authoritarianism, and rationality itself. Postmodern influenced Marxists rejected rigid class essentialism and instead sought to understand how identity, discourse, and fragmented power relations shape oppression, striving for plural forms of liberation and radical democracy. Ultimately, they all pursue a more just, free, and conscious society, but differ how they have pathways to achieve it. And all this information is just, look at that, how quickly I got all of this. I mean, I learned about all of this before ChatGPT became a thing. And so it took me years of study. So I don't blame our forefathers for not seeing this coming, right? A lot of this was quite difficult to spot, especially if you were just a normal guy. And how would you get access to this information? You know, it's not like there was Sargon of Akkad doing a stream about this in the 80s or something, right? But now we have that, and we have the ability to find all of this information. We have the ability to critique it, identify it, and counter it when we see it, and we should. Which is, frankly, gentlemen, what we're all doing here. What? Wait, don't pop in my chat and say Clint Eastwood died. Tragic. Oh yeah, I forgot. Thank you. I like to be polite to ChatGPT. Anyway. Asmongold's correct. We need to vote for Donald Trump. Stop them. Stop all of this Marxist nonsense that wants to destroy our civilization from destroying our civilization. Trump is a tool in that arsenal, a tool in that box. And that's a committed belief system. We believe our civilization is good, that men's place in it is a good thing, that women's place in it is a good thing, and that we should build a wholesome future for our children. This is a totally uncontroversial in any other place, time, or era of human existence, and it's only now that this has become bad. Anyway, so they say he presents himself as standing for opinions that are so widely shared, so obvious, that disagreeing with him means you're intellectually disabled. He'll often, which is true, which is why Trump's in charge now. He'll often reiterate that he's no partisan hack, and like many elected Republicans, he's in favour of universal basic income and a constitutional right to abortion. And that's his right to have those opinions. I don't agree with him on those, but I'm not going to say he's a bad person. I'm not going to try and get him cancelled. I'm not even going to try and persuade him that he's wrong. Who cares? Right? And if at some point he wants to have a conversation about those things, I'm happy to have a conversation about those things with him. I think I can make a moral argument against both of them, actually. But he says, quote, I place pretty much no values in principles or morality. I think these are top-down ideas given to you by the elites, which is very interesting that he has, probably without ever reading any elite theory, he's probably not read his Moscow and Pareto. He's just looked around and said, I think a lot of this is NPC programming. I think a lot of this is ideology telling people what they ought to think rather than these people thinking what they really believe. I think he's right. He says, a professed disregard for ideology, of course, is hardly rare these days. Well, we should be actively against ideology, actually. We should be actively against ideology. Joe Rogan's entire brand is free thinking. Even Trump just likes to justify his decisions as being common sense. And it's interesting because I like the quote-unquote common sense. Oh, no, it's common sense to have a Gramsciist or Marcusian revolution, actually, comrade. What are you talking about? Let's radicalize the students so they can burn down the university. That's common sense. No, common sense is the thing that is in your best interests, the thing that's directly in front of your eyes that you're dealing with right now that is in your best interests, and dealing with that in a way that best serves those interests. That's what common sense is. And everyone has it, and these guys are right to reject ideology as in a set of propositional, dogmatic, logical ideas that determine the outcome regardless of its relation to what reality looks like. That's absolutely correct to use common sense. What's actually happening and what do I actually want? What would actually serve me? Compared to what did some guy 100 years ago say that if A, then B equals C? Like what, it's just so self-evident that you should be commonsensical rather than being an ideologue. Because, as he says, this sort of logic is perhaps why the term NPC has become trendy on the right. Yes, because the second I deal with a radical leftist, I know everything they believe. Because you are literally NPCs. You've literally been programmed with a set of propositions. And all of these propositions hinge on the same fundamental principles. And so the second I hear someone say, well, you didn't check my pronouns, I'm like, yeah, free Palestine, brother. I know what you think. I know everything that you think. Because there's just no reason why I shouldn't. I bet I could get ChatGPT to give me a summary of... In fact, let's see if we can, actually. Give me in bullet points a list of issues that come under the term woke ideology. See what it gives us. Anti-racial justice, gender identity and transgender rights, LGBTQ rights, feminism and gender equality, critical race theory, intersectionality, social justice, environmental justice, anti-colonialism, indigenous rights, and economic inequality. Yeah, you got it. That's everything. That's literally... the second someone mentions LGBTQ rights, I know they're talking about communism. I know they're talking about anti-Western imperialism and Palestine. I know they want net zero and the green economic deal. I know everything they think. It's literally inevitable. It's how the logic works. This is what an ideology is. And so, yeah, an NPC is a computer-controlled ally or opponent Their pool of dialogue is limited and their characterization thin. Yeah, so fucking thin. ChatGPT can just summarize instantly for us. It's so self-evident. In recent years, Musk and many others have taken to calling their liberal opponents NPCs. There's a reason. Ironically enough, the diss suggests its own ideology. Politics isn't a dispute amongst philosophical visions for a better world, or even a contest amongst constituencies for resources. It's a quest for certain humans who matter to defeat people-shaped obstacles that don't. Well, I mean, you said it, I didn't. The problem that they have here is that this is not its own ideology. It's not propositional. And that's the issue. An ideology has to be propositional. The proletariat are being oppressed. Therefore, you must appropriate the means of production. That's the only way to eradicate class differences and therefore create a one universal class of proletariat. And therefore, in all times and all places, the proletariat, sees the means of production. That's the Marxists still say that today. It's like, but we don't live in the same world as Marx. We don't have the same problems as Marx's world. Why are we still talking about what Marx said? It's because the proposition lives in the eternal realm of the abstract now. It is always a correct proposition to a Marxist, even if you look at the world and go, well, hang on a second, wouldn't that do this, that, and the other? And you go, well, yeah, it would. But Marx said this, and so now we have to do it. It's like, no, sorry. You are someone whose pool of dialogue is very limited, and you are ideological. Asmongold and Joe Rogan are not. I don't even think Trump is ideological. They don't have a preset deontological set of propositions they want to apply to the world, regardless of the effect of that. Right? They are just looking at things as they perceive them, in the way that De Tracy actually meant the term ideology, incidentally. I need to itchy nose. In the sense that De Tracy actually, Antoine de Tracy was a French Enlightenment thinker about 1800 roughly, and he coined the term ideology because he wanted to create a science of ideas because it made sense. Everything else is becoming science. Why wouldn't we have a science of ideas? But very quickly, the concept of ideology became, well, ideological, abstract and dogmatic because it's built on a series of propositions. And Napoleon was a part of the ideologues, as they called themselves. And literally within years, he was denouncing them as armchair windbags and armchair metaphysicians who didn't know what they were talking about because they're disconnected from reality. He was there in the trenches, as it were, actually doing things and encountering, interfacing with the real world. And they were making proclamations from a series of abstract propositions. It's like, but you don't know what you're talking about. And they were like, yeah, but we think this would be better. It's like, how would you know what better is if you don't know what you're talking about, if you don't know the situation? Anyway, so yeah, the ideologues, the NPCs, in a way, again, they're just kind of cultists. They've been captured, pre-programmed, turned into NPCs. Anyway, and honestly, it is worth defeating them at the ballot box. That's completely true. Like, people who can't properly think probably shouldn't be in charge of the world. People who can't respond to cause and effect shouldn't really be in charge of the world. People to whom cause and effect are not even secondary considerations definitely shouldn't be in charge, because once things start going wrong, they'll just default back to their programming. Well, okay, this is all going horribly wrong. And we saw this all through the 20th century, by the way. It's why there were mass famines in Russia, why there were mass famines in China, because of what is known as Lysenkoism. The idea that, no, trust us, plants are socialist, bro. They're not capitalist. They don't compete with one another. They cooperate with one another. So do agriculture this way. So, okay, but the harvest has failed. Yeah, but no, we're right and you're wrong. Doesn't matter what the situation with the harvest is, because the ideology demands that I'm right. And if I'm not right, the ideology is wrong, and that means the propositions are wrong. And that means that essentially religious belief I've committed myself to for decades, it was all a waste of time. And I can't have that. I'm not going to agree to that. And so we've got to, again, at the ballot box, defeat the people-shaped obstacles because they're just not thinking about what's actually happening. Anyway, in the schema, Trump is simply the man who's rescuing the country from the rule of the brainless. Yeah, in a lot of ways. Asmongold's commentary, I mean, like, literally his opponent was Kamala Harris. Like, does Kamala Harris even have opinions on politics? Like, seriously. Like, yes, Trump is rescuing the country from you people. Asmongold's commentary about the president usually focuses on whether any given decision by Trump is wise in its own right, but rather how not wise in its own right, but rather how the average or normal person is going to react, which is a reasonable thing to do. Like, if you know a lot of normal people, you can judge how well received any particular policy Trump implements is going to be. Asmongold has, for example, little particular insight about the economy. Yeah, of course he doesn't, because he's not an economist. He's a World of Warcraft player, but he is being forced, again, I reference you to Pericles, into politics, because you wouldn't leave him alone. And so now we have to talk about the economy, and I'm with him. I don't know whether tariffs are good or bad. I don't give a fuck. He says, as long as it's doing something to the people who are trying to do bad things to us, fair enough. Over and over, he seems to have Schadenfreude about the distress the tariffs have caused. Yeah, that means that you're not happy with it, and anything that upsets your plans is good to stop you from destroying the West. Over and over, he's hammered at the idea that normal people don't care about the stock market in the way that the elites who are criticizing Trump's policies do. Agree? That's true. They don't. They care about the price of bread. They care about the price of eggs. They care about the price of just their local commodities, energy prices, or another thing, fuel prices. That's what they don't care about stock market. They don't care. I think these single mothers who are trying to get enough food for their kids for the week, just think they care about the stock market. Madness. But anyway, Asmongold doesn't agree with everything Trump does, but he clearly thinks that the president is scaring the right people, which he is. And you can judge a man by his enemies. Who hates this guy? Oh, all the people I think need to be stopped. Oh, well, that's good. Maybe this guy isn't all that bad. Anyway, he goes on about how he has a huge viewership, and then he says, not all gaming streamers are alike. Pico has been hyped as the potential Joe Rogan of the left. In news coverage, delivers heady Marxist theory. It doesn't. It does not. He scrapes across the bottom of the barrel on Marxist theory because he watches YouTube videos about it. And wonkish research on geopolitics in the tone of frat boy exuberance. Okay. So the idea of being a Joe Rogan of the left, right, means you would have to talk to people in a respectful manner. Because I mean, like, Joe Rogan was the Joe Rogan of the left, right? Same with Elon Musk, same with Donald Trump, same with Tulsi Gabbard, same with RFK, like same with just so many of the people who are currently ruining the left at the moment. They were all ex-Democrats, ex-leftists, or left-wingers. And they got exiled for not being ideological enough, frankly. And so Joe Rogan now just talks to people, and Donald Trump came on and he talked to him, and it was a good chat. It was nice. And so there can't really be a Joe Rogan of the left because you can't do that. You can't just have a good chat with someone and try and persuade them over to your view, because your view fundamentally boils down to, yeah, but don't you just think all white people should die? Don't you just think that all straight people should be queered? Don't you just think all men should be rendered into women, like emasculated and feminized? Don't you just think that? And I'm like, no, I don't think those things, actually. I don't agree with what you're trying to do. It's like, right, so you can't really have a Joe Rogan on the left because that wouldn't be very persuasive. And actually people are like, why the hell am I here? Why am I talking to a lunatic who literally wants to murder me and steal all my stuff? In the case of Hassan Piker, like, why would you want to be with that person? Whereas Joe Rogan, I've been on his show. He's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy, and he's an interesting person to talk to. He's prepared to actually think about things through a non-ideological, non-propositional lens. And so how could you have a Joe Rogan of the left? It's just not possible, I'm afraid. But Asmongold is the more popular figure, and that's why this article's being written. And he's one member of a larger right-leaning ecosystem. And so he goes on a little bit more, but there's not really a huge amount extra to say. But you can see that, in fact, there's one bit at the end here. So he says, gamers play games for all sorts of reasons to blah, blah, blah. That see the world in this way means discounting out the ideas that ostensibly govern our society, ethics, beliefs, and norms. Sorry. Ethics. Does the left really want to talk about ethics? Because really, if we're going to start talking about ethics, we're going to have to start talking about virtues and vices. And you seem to genuinely be Slaneshi cultists who are committed, just so dogmatically committed to vice, and so antithetical to virtue, that the idea of having a conversation with you like that would, I mean, it would be literally like having a conversation with a crocodile. The crocodile's like, I'm going to eat you. And you're like, okay, well, we're going to have to talk about the ethics of you eating me. Why would I do that? No, I'm just going to avoid the crocodile. I don't want to have a conversation with the crocodile about the ethics of him eating me, because he'll decide that he's really going to eat me, and there's very little I can do to persuade him. There's very little you can do to persuade these kinds of people to not destroy your society. It's what they want. It's their religious goal. If anyone's unequal, the entire thing has to be leveled. And so instead, processing life is a struggle for dominance. The thing is, right, leftist ideology is all framed around power. Everything is an analysis of power dynamics. And so all of leftist ideology is about processing life as a struggle for dominance. I mean, the very nature of everything, like you can't define anything in left-wing ideology without including power as as a core part of the metric. Like privilege plus power is oppression, right? That's what was it? I can't remember the exact formulation now, but they include power in all of it, and every like calculation from feminism. Well, what power do men hold over women? What power do white people hold over black people? What power do straight people hold over gay people? And how can that be taken away? How can that be leveled out or inverted, which is actually what they're going for? And so they process all of life as a struggle for dominance. I'm sorry you're upset that we're looking at this as an existential struggle for the control of society, the dominance of society, of the people who like our society and don't want it destroyed and want to protect it for future generations to live in and enjoy like we did. And the existential struggle against those people who are determined on wiping us out. I'm sorry that's the case. I'm sorry that the people who cheer when white people become a minority in their own country, or when illegals are let through the borders, or when men are allowed into women's toilets, all these ridiculous things. I'm sorry that those destructive people are bothered that there is now a counterforce, culturally and politically, that's like, no, we're going to set the correct rules to society, and we're going to set up boundaries, and we're going to set up hierarchies of right and wrong. And the right people are going to win, and the wrong people are going to lose. And you're like, oh, they're looking at life as a struggle for dominance. Yeah, we are. I tell you what, Nietzsche was one of the most influential thinkers I've read. I have to say, he makes a lot of good points. And he saw you coming a long way off, didn't he? Anyway, the strangest thing about this view of politics is it's seductive enough, perhaps even addictive enough, to pull people away from the greatest distraction on earth, video games. You know what, man? Just left them alone. But like I said earlier, you couldn't. You had to go for even the most small and insignificant things to have full spectrum dominance. And it became apparent that we just can't ignore you. We're not allowed to ignore you. You wouldn't let us ignore you. And so what we have to do is destroy you. We have to make sure that you lose the war that you declared on us. That's what this has to be. And that's what we do. That's why we do all of these things. That's why we do what we do. Am I wrong, Chad? So anyway, this is the summary of it. And yeah, I guess he's right, actually. We did just want to play video games. Unfortunately, now it's turned into a struggle for dominance over society at large between insane left-wing forces and normal people. And the normal people are winning, actually. So just a quick thing here. If you want to support me, go over to lowseas.com. There's a link in the description. And go and watch our latest roundtable, which is a five-man discussion about a particular topic. And, these very thoughtful, intellectual conversations that we're having. This one about immigration. And not just like, oh, what would be good and bad for immigration, but actually how it could be implemented. Because I'm of the opinion, and there are other people who disagree with me on this on the panel, that actually we'd have to be not weak, but would have to be not belligerent when it came to stopping immigration to stop the destruction of our countries through a mass influx of foreign peoples. I think the most important thing fundamentally to do is just stop the inflow. But I'll let you go and watch it in your own time so you see it. But yeah, we are constantly working because of what they have done to us, is the point. And now, I mean, I had a really, really great discussion with very, very intelligent people. Like Dan's an economist, Josh is Dan's an economist, Josh is a psychologist, and Firas Modad, who joined us, is a geopolitical strategist, and we are very well informed on the issues. And so this is a level of discussion you just can't find on like television. You just can't find this quality of discussion on Fox News or on CNN or on the BBC or wherever. Right? We had to make it for ourselves. And the comments are just superb. Like, these are all comments from paid subscribers, because we don't let non-paying subscribers talk on our website, because we want a bit gatekeeping. But you can read them, obviously. And you see like huge amounts of discussion on the stream itself, because there's a lot to be said on the subject. And so we are actually providing a forum to really iron these questions, iron these ideas out, and answer these questions substantively. What these guys are trying to do is make you stop doing that. And it is better that you do it, because all it takes for them to win is your apathy. That's all this has taken. And it was their own hubris and foolishness that ended up provoking us into creating our own platforms, our own forums, our own movement in the first place. And this isn't going away, because this is my job now. This is all I have to do now. Well, now I've got a lot of things to do, but this is the thing I mostly do now, and I'm not going to stop. And I'm pretty sure that none of the other people around me are going to stop. And we're going to keep doing this until we win. And the thing is, we have a moral obligation to do that, right? And again, I come back, it's loads of dads who are involved in this sort of thing. And we're all just looking at the future and thinking, oh, that's not good. The future does not look good at all. Why would I want to do something else? You've helped us turn this into the greatest video game of all. And again, Nigel Farage is winning the local elections today. I might have my problems with Nigel Farage, but man, I was happy to see that just absolutely wrecked. The fear in Keir Starmer's eyes, and the blank expression in Kemi Badenoch's eyes, just amazing. Anyway, let's go to some soup chats, and then I can finally go to bed. Oh, my days are long. Don't get me wrong, like I said, I love everything I do. I love everything I do. I'm just always tired. And like, I'll post a picture of myself on Twitter or something if I'm dressed up in my nice suit, and people are like, "Oh, you've been smoking weed?" I'm like, no, obviously not. I've been up really early, or went to bed late because I was working or something. You know, obviously I haven't been. But yeah, Sagaron, it's afraid. That's what it is. They are afraid. They are afraid of people like Asmongold. Right, let me just go through these. Get to the bottom. Xenophon is the only based Athenian. Oh, no, that's not true. Athens had loads of based Athenians. Loads. But Xenophon was a very based man. I don't drink alcohol either, by the way, Russian. I mean, I do if I'm like out with my friends or something on a night out. I'll have some drinks. But like, I don't drink when I'm at home. I just don't. I'm not really a big drinker. I've been on my diet as well for probably about 14, 15 days now, and I haven't broken it. It's been really consistent. I've lost a bit of weight already, and I'm very pleased. And I don't drink alcohol. I just don't need to. Honestly, I'm just too busy doing stuff. Like, I can't do any painting if I'm drunk. I can't really make any videos if I'm drunk. I'm no good at video games if I'm drunk. So there's just no point in me. I don't get anything out of it when I'm on my own. Women must be given mandatory education consistent with lessons on how to behave like anime women. Be nice to men and not be obnoxious to be around. Well, don't want to be rip my gunt. You don't want to be like anime women. The anime stuff, I think, is a massive sort of ersatz. What was the phrase that Kaczynski uses? Surrogate activity. No, you should be courting a real woman and expecting her to be like a real woman, and you'll get a lot out of it. Bastiat says, Carl, fan of you for over a decade. Bought my dream house. Oh, that's amazing. I have 2 beautiful kids, working on a 3rd. Good job, sir. Got my dream job working as a policy advisor for the President of the United States. We will win. Dude. And that's another thing, right? That's another thing. We have guys everywhere. There was an article in Unheard about me the other day, expressly about me, where this guy was like, look, all I hear coming out of these Zoomers' mouths is Sargon of Akkad's rhetoric. And that's because millions of you have watched my videos and enjoyed what I've done over the years. And I love to hear it. I love to hear that some lad who's now out of university, 25, 26, 27, whatever it is, and he's getting ahead in the world, is a fan of my content and is one of us, right? One of the people who knows that we have to fix the world. I love to hear it. It's amazing. And I'm so honestly, man, congratulations. Well done. You know, don't give the game away, just keep grinding, keep doing the right thing, and before you know it, things will be much rosier, and future historians will look back on this crazy time and be like, thank God they did something. Thank God they didn't let this happen. This is why I'm always sympathetic to the Zoomers, to be honest. I do feel a lot of kinship with them. I do understand a lot of what they're going through. Greg says, been with my wife 7 years. Congratulations. Have 3 kids. Just named our son Ben. Life is hard. Just stay strong. Be the rock that others build on. Yes. And this is Jordan Peterson's fundamental point when he first became famous. And he was completely right about it. You've got to be the rock that other people rely on. And in that, you find meaning. You find validation. Duke says, take England back to the Shire. Turn the cities back into trade hubs, not foreign enclaves. I call it Tolkienism. Interesting. I like that. Ideology says, I've made a bet with mate that you'll be Christian within 5 years. Don't let me down. P.S. Philosophically, you make an excellent Catholic. Look, if I was going to be a Christian, I don't think I'm going to be. I'm not a religious man. But if I was going to become a Christian, I'd be a Protestant. As God intended. But I do appreciate, and it's always nice when Christians say they're praying for me, man. Because it's like there are some people who take that really weird, and it's like, yeah, but that's a kind thing to say. That's someone keeping you in their thoughts and wishing well for you. So even if you're an atheist, it's still a nice thing. It's still a nice thing that someone's doing and saying. Why would you take objection to that? I just don't understand it. Anyway, McLeod says, imagine how politics would be today if they just made good video games and left us alone. Well, that's the thing. They wouldn't have the opposition that they have. Because we'd be like, well, it's just politics, I don't care. And then suddenly, weird stuff would be happening everywhere and there'd be no organized resistance. We are the organized resistance. The online right is the organized resistance. And they did it. They're the ones who did it. They had to get involved. So Pepe says, Deus Volt. Absolutely. Duke, is Callum ever coming back to the podcast? I'm sure he will. He's in Iraq at the moment, and you can imagine how deeply jealous I am. And he keeps sending me photos of ancient Sumerian and Assyrian things. I'm like, that's epic. But he did get me a Hammurabi rug that he saw, and it was like, do you want this? Because obviously he thought I'd probably like it. And I was like, yes, I do want that, because I do like it. So he grabbed it for me, and I'll show you when I get it. I'm sure when he gets back, I'm sure I'll get it off him. Yoruza says, after all this time, I don't think I can think of you as anyone else other than Sargon. Don Carlos sounds too cool, though. And that's fine. I don't mind when people call me Sargon. My name is Carl, though. But I don't mind. Quartz says, they have PTSD, we have nostalgia. That's the right way of looking at it. The Emperor's champion. We just wanted to be left alone. Now we're driving them from politics in our own great crusade. The Emperor protects brothers. Yeah, now this is one of the things I like, right? Is I like the fact that they've given us a crusade. Because we, like in Fight Club, Tyler Durden's like, look, we're the lost children of history. We've got no great crusade. We've got no great war. We've got no great struggle to fight through, whatever it was, something along those lines. And so ours is a spiritual struggle. And it's like, yep. And they decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take all of these lost men and drop a political struggle in their lap. And if there's one thing that the men of the West have always been good at winning, it's political struggles, actually. We've won a lot of them in our time, and there's no reason we should give up and let down the side on that. McLeod says, who'd have guessed that someone was sleeping with 5 guys would lead to the CIA being under duress of being cut? I know. Like, the worldwide leftist patron network of USAID getting defunded can be laid at the feet of Zoe Quinn. It's so good. It's genuinely comical as well. It's so good, though. Kraken says, well, no one has accused Hassan of Sam Cedar of being smart. Well, that's true. Mason says, don't underestimate Piker and AOC. If the tariffs cause an economic downturn, people will start listening to socialists again. I guess we'll have to see. It's a few years in the future now. Sunderbraze says, hey man, they'll never forgive us for 5 guys, burgers and fries. All we want to do is tame dinosaurs, but now we have to go overthrow the established global order. Yeah. That's literally what we do all day, every day, and we're not going to stop until it's done. And then I can just sit back and make nice philosophical videos Like now, I can see what my retirement's going to be like when I'm in my 60s. I'm just going to make just long form, interesting philosophical videos that hopefully you guys find really interesting while you're playing your video games. While you're just, they're playing whatever the new video, whatever Todd Howard has remastered this century. Hopefully you'll just enjoy listening to them. Jeremy says, is there a reason the Chaos Gods of the Good Guys reaction is missing? I wanted to show it for a friend. Well, I deleted practically everything that I thought might have been suspect, so YouTube would remonetize my channel. So yeah, that's why. But it did work in the end. So, Hammer Time says, "Hi, please check out Candid with Lubna. She's a British Pakistani who stands up to extremism in the community. She's well worth interviewing." Okay, I will do that. Put that in a tab so I can look it up. Stephen says, in the event that Alberta secedes from Canada and joins the US, should Trump add a white leaf in lieu of a traditional star? I doubt that will happen, but no, I think he should keep the traditional star. Natarain says, would I be willing to talk about adopting children? What are my thoughts on unmarried individuals adopting? Well, I think that having a loving parent, adoption is one of the most traditional things that human beings have done since the dawn of time. Adopting children is so profoundly normal throughout history that it's actually very strange that there's any kind of stigma attached to it in the modern era. Like this, just all the time. Because in the past, when they didn't have welfare states, someone had to help kids. And if a kid, like if their parents died of the plague or whatever it is, people died very, very regularly in the ancient world and the medieval world, the pre-modern world. It was very, very easy for children to find themselves without a family. And that's a really, really rough life for a kid. And so people would charitably adopt them because it's the right thing to do for those kids. And especially if you're a person who can't themselves have children, it's a very kind thing to do. And it makes their lives a lot better and it makes the world a better place. And so, having stigma against adoption is just not a good thing. It would be nice if good people adopted children who needed parents, especially if they can't have children of their own, so they can at least do something to pay the kindness that civilization has shown them forward. Sean says, if faith and works equals effort, that means that the effort we put into our children and teach them about God and the faith can make this world a better place. We have to teach them the true faith and get it right. Yes, and I've told my children they are Christians. Even if I'm not, they can be. My eldest son wants to be a Christian. He likes Christianity. I think it's more like a response to the foreign religions that are imposed around him. I think a lot of it is him thinking, well, what am I? I'm not a Hindu or a Muslim or a Sikh, or what am I doing? I'm like, you're a Christian. And so obviously he has learned about Jesus and he really likes Jesus, and I'm really glad to hear it. So Pepe says, the irony of the left is that they're all about forcing their hypocritical morality on everyone while hating the idea that morality is objective. Yes. Archmagos Zulkov for $50. Cheers, man. Hail Sargon. I get to go back to the Middle East and meet the parents of your new neighbours. And not shocked they are of such low quality, they don't take pride in their work. Remember, they hate you and want you gone. We are sick of skin suits. Yeah, and that's the thing. There are obviously loads of foreigners who don't hate us and don't want us gone. And they are already on the patriot side of the ledger. Again, there are loads of people oh, the Sikhs, I don't like them because they're foreign or something. It's like, okay, but they are the lovers of the English, right? They'll fly the English flag. And if we would say, right, okay, we've got enough Sikhs in the country now, we're just not going to take any more, I think they'd understand, actually. They'd be like, yeah, England's going to hell because of way too much rampant immigration. You don't need to take any more. I think they'd understand. Whereas the people who are subversive and want our civilizations destroyed, they're going to be like, no, I want you to keep taking people, even though it's against your interests. Right? So I think we can easily distinguish between those people who have goodwill towards us and those people who don't. I think we can reasonably discriminate against on the basis of the people who like us and are helping us with our best interest. They can stay and they can be part of the tribe, and those people who can't can go. It's just really not that complicated, and we don't have to draw such hard boundaries in order to win on that subject. Necromancer says, it was the woke scolds who taught the gamer to hate. Absolutely was. It's so true. It's so true. Spasmascus, Amen, says, momentum of character. Trump had a long history of getting stuff done, making deals and doing businesses. Building businesses. Does Farage have that momentum, or is he a shark drawn to fresh blood? Well, in Farage's defence, he got Brexit, and if it wasn't for him, it probably wouldn't have happened, to be fair. And so, yeah, I mean, he has done a good job. He has got a history of accomplishing things, and he did that without being an elected politician in the British government. He was an MEP. So it's not that he's not capable of getting things done, and if today's results are anything to go by, he's definitely capable of crushing the Labour and Tory parties. So, I mean, when he's in government with his executive power, who knows? I am actually worried that he won't be able to do anything or won't want to do anything, which isn't great. But either way, it is better than the alternative. It's better that Farage comes in and wrecks the place and clears the ground and allows new shoots to bloom, I think. Sam says, check out the ITV interview with Farage, uploaded an hour ago. He comes off strong, I think. He's taken a hard line on deporting illegals. Yeah, I've seen a few clips going around after this victory where they've just come out quite hard on a bunch of stuff. It's like, okay, I'm listening, Mr. Farage. Do me a favor and continue on that kind of strategy. And I think you'll find that a lot of people who are tired voters who don't believe in the system will actually be like, oh, maybe something could change. Maybe I would be able to come over to something. Eternal Anglo says, if they'd left us alone, we wouldn't have noticed the destruction of the West until it was too late, and now they have to watch us save it. Yeah, exactly. Eternal Anglo, I've got to the point now where I've put an English flag in my Twitter bio. I know it sounds like a small thing, but I've been thinking about it for years now. And I was like, is that too nationalistic? I don't know. And I'm just, after the attack on St. George's Day in English identity, it's like, no, that goes in the bio. That's the England flag now. I don't care. I've declared my colours, and they've declared theirs, and it's just war now. It's just total war. King Jared says, King Charles is not the right monarch to handle a deeply treasonous parliament. Oh, God, don't I know it. There are so many people in England. Honestly, and I have conversations with normies where they're like, can't the king do something? I'm like, well, the king could do something. He has absolutely got the power to do anything that he wanted to Parliament, basically, at this point. And he won't, because he's a woke globalist. The line of Windsor will unfortunately end due to their own meekness. Yeah. They're not the people of the job, I'm afraid. Matthew says, the left has been usurped by zealots. I don't know if it's a usurpation. That's the thing. I think it might just be the true left. Rick says, you should look up Colin Borisenko's Socialism Saturdays, where she follows the modern Marxists pushing their agenda. Honestly, I don't need it. I know what they're doing. Matthew says, we have King Charles, now we just need to meme a Cromwell into existence. Well, again, I did a video on my Cat Daily channel, because this guy from the More in Common Foundation was doing focus groups, and in them, one of them was just like, look, we just need a coup d'etat and a dictator. Basically, he's saying a new Cromwell to just take over and sort things out. So, yeah. Harry says, quote, you only had to listen. They couldn't listen. There's no listening. They know what they're doing. Possible Pilot Deviation says, this year I married, took a 2-week honeymoon to the UK, ONS data to navigate, finished a PhD, working out at the gym every day. It's been a good year and loads of seats with me all the way. Thank you. Man, that's amazing. Love to hear it. Congratulations on the PhD, by the way. Congratulations on the marriage. Congratulations on getting to the gym every day. I don't go to the gym every day. I ride my bike into work, but I don't go to the gym every day because I hate the gym. Well done, man. Well done, that man. Bullwinkle says, sub for 8 years. Keep on keeping on. Thank you, sir. And with your help and with your support, I absolutely can. That's the thing. There's nothing stopping us, We just have to want it. And I just have to do the work. And collectively, we just have to keep this, like Steve Bannon, you can't stop the signal. If you just keep the signal going, this will all come together eventually. And I think he's completely right about that. And I think that's exactly what this Atlantic article is about. He's concerned the signal, Asmongold's got a massive audience, and the signal is going out further than it ever has before. And they're panicking. They're really panicking over this because they don't know how they're going to get it back. How do you get all of these people back on the leftist plantation? And the answer is, why the fuck would I? Fuck you. You hate men. You hate white people. You hate our countries. You hate the West. You hate decency, truth, goodness. You hate beauty. You hate Morality itself is a constraining force to you. No, I'm not going back on the plantation ever. We're going to destroy you. Don't you understand? We're going to bury your ideology, and people will look at it like we look at like the flagellants of the 15th century in Germany, who whipped themselves because of the Black Death, thinking this will make God think better of them and stop the Black Death from killing them. That's how you're going to be looked. We're going to look at you like we look at like people who would like do lobotomies in the early 20th century. We were like, wow, what the hell were you doing? So yeah, I know, that's what they thought. It's like, Jesus, so glad we got past that. Big Guy says, even though I'm not English, I cherish Britain. Well, don't worry, some Celts apparently do too. I'm rooting for you. Is there any way people outside can help you guys? Honestly, just support, just sign up to lotuseast.com. Just, come and be part of the community. That's the easiest way to help us personally. Again, like a lot of it is stuff we have to do ourselves, right? And so just making sure that we can have our own platforms is probably the best way for us to fix these things. Because then this gives me the freedom to go and do other things in the country. And we've got a lot planned for this year. Because we've been testing a lot of content recently, and a lot of it's gone really well. Like the video of me going around Swindon, that was really popular. And there are a bunch of things like that I could do. I just need the time and freedom to do it. And that's what this is for. Joe says, look, I just wanted to build my things and have a good Catholic number of children. 4 is not enough, Carl. It's enough for me. Now I'm a rabid rightist and I want my military elective monarchy. Look, all I'm saying is Heinlein was right about basically everything. That's basically everything. Anonymous says, if you ever get the chance to talk to Andrew Wilson, his leftist opponents crumble the moment he asks them how their subjective morality with no moral foundation is more correct than anyone else's. Yeah, that's because they can't possibly say that it is. It's nearly 11:30, and I'm going to have to go about 11:30, so I've got to be honest, I'm fucking shattered. I've got to be up again early tomorrow because I've got things I've got to do with the kids. So Cloth says, it's time to take your country back. Thank you. I agree. Joe says, every struggle is existential once it gains momentum. This is the philosophy of my people, the English after 2016. That's true. Baron of Grey Matter says, Neuralink can't come soon enough. The left will dive in wholeheartedly, live in the pod and eat the bugs. Cults are going to cult. You know what? That would be a great solution to this issue. Let the pod people live in the pod and just be completely disconnected in the sensory, apparatus, whatever it is that they're going to like Nozick's pleasure chamber. Like, let them go into it, and then we don't have to deal with them. They won't vote. They'll just be sat there gooning 24/7. Great. Glad you're happy. Good luck. Enjoy. Be a weird bugman Kuma. That's fine. Just don't get into my life. Stop getting in to what we do, and stop trying to think that you have any authority, moral or otherwise, to determine how the world should work, because you don't. You absolutely don't. Geordie says, wars begin when you will, but they do not end when you please. Machiavelli, that is a quote from Machiavelli. There's a good quote from Machiavelli too. They should have left our video games alone. It's so totally true. I'm just going to refresh this quick. It's so totally true. And that's a great point. They thought, we can just declare war. We can just declare war. How can this go badly? And 10 years later, they're like, God, why won't Asmongold stop talking about politics? He's ruining us. Why can't Asmongold stop getting rich and famous talking about politics? Oh, sorry. Did the war begin when you pleased? Did it not end when you will? Oh, that's a shame. That's a real shame for you. I'm so sorry to hear that, bros. Fucking, you started it. You absolutely started it. Kopesh says, fun fact, I woke up one morning chatting Cromwell a few weeks ago, and I don't even live in Great Britain. Yeah, I know, right? The spectre of Cromwell is definitely hanging over society at the moment. Right, very interesting. And this is, Kristen, this is a question I get asked by a lot of British people. Americans subscribed since 2013. I think always good to be a veteran. Couldn't the king step in and disband Parliament? Why are there calls for Cromwell? It did not go well. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think from Cromwell's perspective, it went pretty great. And the king absolutely could step in and disband Parliament. And if Parliament wanted to resist it, it would have to form an army. And I don't think that anyone would fight for the Parliament. So, and again, I've had this... yeah. Joe Woodland, I see that. Cry harder, but I'm not going to read the rest. But that is what my opinion would be. But yeah, the king absolutely could step in and disband Parliament. He could do any of these things. He's just weak, so he won't do this. Johnny Medlar, dude, how's it going, man? It's been a long time since Concord. It has, man. That rain, man, that was cold. But no, it's good to hear from you again, man. And thanks for $100, dude. That's amazing. I hope you're doing well. I assume you're doing well if you can afford to donate $100. But that's another thing as well, right? I can't help but notice that everyone I know is glad about other people's successes. They are glad that other people are doing well. I'm glad Callum's doing well. I'm glad that everyone else is doing well. I'm glad to see the people I like thriving. But anyway, he says, the more I hear you talk about the mother state, the state of the old mother country, the more I want to come back there like my Puritan ancestors who went back to fight for Cromwell. I really appreciate that, man. The thing is, though, the Brits react badly to an American accent. They like Americans over in America. But they won't have Americans fiddling with the politics. They won't have it. In the same way the Canadians won't. It's the accent. They're not going to have it. They don't want Americans fiddling with their politics. It's part of their national pride and their independence. So as much as I would appreciate, millions of Americans coming to Britain, the British public would react badly to it, I think. But I personally think your support is invaluable. Mike says, Trump very well may not have happened without Carl. I don't think I'm that influential. But I'm glad that I was able to support. Again, like it's nice to be able to provide sort of artillery fire from across the channel, you know what I mean? Because I know that I was one of the first who was going into the university stuff at American campuses and being like, what is this? And I know that I was one of the first raising the alarm and made that a more popular issue with just the general public in America and in Britain than otherwise it would have been. Because, I mean, those videos, some of them had millions of views. I was gutted that I had to delete them, you know what I mean? But, like, my channel had 250 million views before I had to wipe it. And that was painful. And that's a lot of fucking views. 250 million views. That's a lot of people. You try not to think about it as well. You just try to think. But I get recognized in the street every day, basically, whenever I go out. Someone, and what I love, right, is this kind of, it feels like a secret society. It's like every time, because it's all self-selected, right? People who watch me recognize me. People who don't watch me don't know who I am and don't care, right? So they'll come up to me like it's a secret society. I love what you're doing, mate. In fact, I was at Paddington Station today, and this older chap came over and he was telling me I can't remember what he said he was doing, but he was involved in something in the Great Crusade, right? And I like describing this as the Great Crusade. And he was like, it was about the trans issue. He was involved in the trans issue in some way. And he was like, we got the Supreme Court judgment that declared that the trans are just wrong in Britain. It's not happening in the future, basically. And they're locked out of politics, political like action like that. And he was like, we're winning, mate. We are getting ahead. And it's like, yes, this is great. There's an active, like, again, Fight Club style underground of the, one of us getting things done. And I absolutely love it. I love to see it. It genuinely, like, I'm never sad when someone's like, oh, big fan, man. Because they'll always give me a little story about how I've helped them get to somewhere that they needed to be, or to wake up to an issue that they're now working on and things like this. And it's just like, this is great. This is like, a whole massive network of Tyler Durdens who don't know that each other are really like working, right? But everyone's doing it, and you all know me, so I'm the one that you tell, and I get told this all the time. And so it's just like, no wonder we're winning. Like, no wonder we're winning. Anyway, I've got to get through a couple of these before I go to bed. Alex says, regime wants Farage. True. Is Lowe the Powell of the 2020s? Can he say what he wants, but he has been betrayed just like Powell? Maybe. I don't know. And I don't want to make predictions. Thing is, I don't think Nigel Farage will be around forever. And we're being told a lot that, well, without Nigel Farage, reform is nothing. And it's like, I agree. Reform is basically Nigel Farage's vehicle to crush the Uni Party. Fine. But when Nigel decides he's had enough and he wants to retire, well, who takes over? Zia Youssef? Lee Anderson? Richard Tice? Like, there's no one good that's following after Farage, because Farage has stamped down and destroyed so many people on his way up. He's got no friends. He doesn't. He should have an army of. I mean, he's been in politics 30 plus years. He should have an army of very competent people around, but he doesn't. It's just him and the people around him. Anyway, Thomas, and this will be the last one, I'm afraid, folks. Carl, thanks for your work since I started listening to you back in 2013. I've learned a lot. Good man. Well, so have I, man. And you know what? Right. And this is the thing. If it wasn't for all you guys' support, I wouldn't be able to do this permanently, full time, for over a decade, right? And I wouldn't have been able to learn the things that I've learned. I wouldn't have been able to do my degree in philosophy. I wouldn't have been able to study all the time and do as much work as I've done. I wouldn't have met so many important people and had good connections with very clever and influential people, and have such a good friend circle with these people as well. Without you guys, I wouldn't have anything. And I hope that I've always been conscious and expressive of this, because I really don't ever want to turn into one of those sort of arrogant people who takes things for granted. I just don't want that. Like the way Hassan talks to his chat, I just think it's disgusting. I hate it. He's so contemptuous to his own supporters. It's like, what a horrible man. I'd like to show some gratitude. You know what I mean? Anyway, right. So I've got to go to bed because I've got to be up early tomorrow because I don't get to sleep in on Saturdays. So I've got dad things to do. But it's fine. It's fine. I'm not complaining. I'm just always tired. But thank you so much for joining me, folks. Thank you so much for your generous donations. And if you want to support me long term, you want to support Lotus Eaters, go over, watch our roundtable, link in the description. It's a great discussion, by the way. It's a really great discussion. And it's totally worth your time. And I would love your input on it. Of course, I read the comments, so do leave us a comment and let me know what you think. And I will have a scripted video out this week. I'll try and do it this weekend. So I have something good and nourishing and philosophical on this channel for you that isn't just me talking off the top of my head. Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time.